Hello guys, in this video I will show you a different kind of analysis to look at the backlog data and the prediction and different numbers, right? And there's a lot of numbers that I will walk through, but some of you might have seen this kind of analysis in my past, which I posted in long ago. And for some of them it may be new, so I will start from scratch to explain very quickly. So this is one of the report that USCIS generates in the immigration data web page, which I downloaded, and this is I think the latest one that I have so far for this kind of data. And this is as of March 2025 data, which is okay, which is pretty much recent. And also this is the number of applicants who are in the backlog who are waiting for the employment-based petitions visa availability for the green card, right? So this is including the pending I-485 applicants, including the I-140 applicants who have not filed I-485 yet, and things like that. So it is everybody who is waiting in the queue as a backlog candidates who are waiting for the visa, right? So that is about that. And this categorizes the employment based, as you know, and also the country categories here. Okay. And there are some notes here that it is important to refer to. Okay. So one of them I want to highlight is definitely the priority date is based on March 2025 visa bulletin final action date chart. What does that mean? So if I look at the final action date chart, right, if I open that out, and if I show you the final action date, this is March 2025 visa bulletin final action date chart. So what they are trying to say is that the backlog data, the count is after this date. For example, EB2 rest of the world in March 2025 visa bulletin is cutoff date set as 15th of May 2023, right? So you know that priority date earlier than this date, their cases would get processed. So the backlog data is after this date, whatever the count is in the backlog. Similarly for all other categories, same thing, same logic applies. So that's what they're trying to say in that note. And also this is considering only the primary applicants in this particular table. The count is only up to for the primary applicants. It doesn't include the dependents. Okay. As you can see in the note 4, the count of approved petitions represent only primary beneficiaries. Dependents are not included. So for which I did some multiplier. Okay. So as you know, there could be multiple different multipliers that you can apply because that varies. And I did 1.5 multiplier from this number. Okay, which is in this my created table here, which I did up to EB3 focus. I'm not going to talk about EB4 and EB5. So now what you're seeing is 1.5 time of this 11,858 is what I have it here as 17,787. So similarly 1.5 multiplier for all of them here. Okay, that's the number about that. The reason for 1.5 multiplier is also including some dependent count, as this is not counted for that. Second number you're looking at here in the bottom is the per country limit. So ideally, without any spillovers, employment based category per year is allocated as 140,000 every new fiscal year. So start of fiscal year is October 2025. In this case, the next fiscal year is 2026, right? Fiscal year 2026 will start in October 2025 and it will end in September 2026. So for the new fiscal year, which will start, it will be allocated with 140,000, and that will have it's a worldwide limit, right? For employment based, it will have a split between each country categories here and across the employment based type, right? So, and based on the calculations from whatever the allocations that are there in the USCIS webpage or in the visa bulletin. You can take a look the percentages based on which I calculated the number as such that here. Okay, that is the allocation number, given that it will be 140K for the new fiscal year next year without any spillovers. I'm not considering any spillovers here. And the second number here you are seeing is 0.5, 0.5. It's a split for EB3 and EB3 other workers. Okay, why I did that? Because we do not know how the split works there. Because right now, there is a 28.6% overall allocation worldwide for EB3 category, right? And out of that 28.6%, it is shared between skilled, professional, and the other workers. And I am right now considering skilled and professional as one side and other workers on the other side of the board, right? And I'm giving a split between them. So the 28.6 percentage of this 140K is split between these two categories. And that's why you see the split even between EB3 and EB3 other workers at this point. And that's the worst case, right? It is not a hard and fast rule. It will be an even split. If some cases, if there are spillovers and if based on the demand, where the demand is high, the numbers are applied. So it may not be always even split. It's based on USCIS and DOS discretion of how they apply the spillovers, how they apply the split, etc. So we don't have any clue about that. But right now I'm considering a constant split, even split here for our prediction. And the number below is nothing but the number of years it will take to reach March 2025 visa bulletin. Oh, sorry, my bad. Number of years, let me rewrite this. Number of years it will take to reach March 2025 priority. Let's consider end of March 2025 priority date. That's what I'm trying to say here. I'm sorry, I made it a little, yeah, let's put it that way. So what I did here is I did straight away simple math, right? I divided the available the backlog, right, with the available visa numbers. So that means I'm considering constant 140K every fiscal year, right, with that split of 2800 for, in this case, EB1 China. EB2 China will be the same. EB1 China, EB1 India, EB1 Mexico, EB1 Philippines, all will have the same kind of a split because it's a 7% cap on those, and remaining will be the rest of the world. So that's what it is about, right? So 140K times 28.6% times 7% country cap is what this is about. All right. It should sum up even. Okay, it summed up for up to EB3 because I have not considered EB4 and EB5, so it did not show me 140K. It showed up close to 120K, which makes sense because I'm not including EB4 and EB5. All right, let's move on. So what I did here is I kind of divided the backlog count divided by number of available visa numbers per fiscal year, right? So it's yearly. So if I have a minimum of this number, right, it won't go below this because this is minimum 140K. It will be there. It won't go below that. But keeping that minimum case and dividing that backlog count with this for each of those categories for each country is what comes up as number of fiscal years. Instead of saying number of years, number of fiscal years, it is all close to the same. It's just different timeline. Number of fiscal years it will take to reach end of March 2025 priority date for all of these countries across the EB1 through EB3 other workers across this board. So what I'm trying to say here is it will take 6 years for EB1 China to reach March 2025 priority date. It will take 10 years from March 2025 because the visa bulletin reference was March 2025, right? As per this note you saw in note 6, right? So it will take up to 10 years to reach March 2025 priority date for EB1 India. Okay, and remaining, we don't see any backlog on this because it stayed current. So there is no backlog generated. So we have numbers available from there. It might get spilled over, which will be a good news. I'm not promising anything here. I will talk about that detailed analysis in coming weeks, maybe before September 2026. Before September 2025, I will post some video with that, like how this EB1 could spill over to EB2 and EB3, right? That we'll talk later. But that's still a good sign that we don't have a backlog on EB1, Mexico, Philippines, and rest of the world, which is great news. Which means we have those many numbers available, which is 35,000, 34,000, and of course there will be new applicants coming in those categories in the next fiscal year. But think about it; it may be not 34,000; it may be low, but remaining can be spilled over to other ones, which is definitely we'll wait for that analysis, more analysis on that. All right, moving on. So similarly for EB2 China, it will take 19 years to reach March 2025 priority date. So if I divide the 54,000, including the family dependents, right? 54,000 with this constant 2,800, it will take 19 years to reach. Similarly, I don't want to get to EB2 India and EB3 India because we know there's a lot of backlog, right? That's why you see so many years in the count. But this is the count to say to reach March 2025 priority date for EB2 India, it will take 177 years, is what the calculation says. And I don't want to disappoint anybody, but this is the number that it says, right? I'm kind of calculating and predicting here with the numbers that we got from USAIS, plus some assumed calculations. So, but this is a ballpark. Similarly, what I'm seeing is look at this, EB2 Mexico, right? EB2 Mexico. Well, even though it says 1,000, it's a rounded up number, so like it becomes 0. But half of the year, maybe in the mid of fiscal year 2026, it might become current, unless if there is any more applicants coming in. But if this number doesn't change by second quarter of next fiscal year, which is March 2026, this might probably become current, or they might establish a date, but they might move the remaining numbers to somewhere else where the high demand are. Okay, so that's another good news. Same for Philippines. We are not seeing enough numbers on EB2. It's just 200 or so far. So there's a lot of numbers to be used in somewhere else where the high demand are. So EB1, Mexico, Philippines, rest of the world, EB2, Mexico and Philippines. There are a lot of opportunities for spillovers within the EB category. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, moving on. So here we have EB2, rest of the world. So by what I'm anticipating here is that by at least, it is rounded up. So it says 1, but it could be more than 1 because I'm dividing 28. So here it is 42 by 28. So it could be 1.5 years here, right? Let me just see this instead of rounding it up. Okay, this is better, right? So, all right, it's much better. Okay, it says it might take 1.5 years to get to March 2025 for EB2 rest of the world. Okay, that's what it says with the family dependent inclusion. Okay. Then the EB3 skilled. So EB3 skilled, we're saying that for China, right? This is China. The top row is China. Let me do this. I'm sorry, I didn't do this before, but it's better to do this now. Yep, it's easier. For EB3 China is it will take 13 years to reach March 2025 priority date, end of March 2025 priority date, with this kind of a backlog that was generated. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. We already did. All right, it's a huge backlog. Again, it's a high level view, right? The total view, big picture view. Okay, Mexico EB3, it will take close to 1 year to become current, or sorry, to reach to March 2025 is a priority date. That's what it meant. It will take 1 year to reach March 2025, but seems like it might follow whatever the rest of the world is going to say. Right? We have seen that in the current fiscal year. So I think Mexico and Philippines are going to follow close to what the rest of the world is going to say, except the Philippines EB3 skilled. You can see that. It's a huge backlog there, right? But it has been following along with close to the rest of the world dates, maybe just because the available visas may have been utilized on those areas. I'm not sure. At least I don't have the visibility. But looking at the data, it seems to me, but that instead of saying 20 years it will take to reach March 2025, I can say that it will even be much lower, because we are seeing that it is staying close to the rest of the world in the current fiscal year. So I think these numbers are being utilized somewhere here, maybe currently. I don't know. Let's see how the next fiscal year numbers are being applied compared to the current fiscal year. Where they are going to apply, we will only know when the dates move. For the rest of the world, EB3 skilled, I'm anticipating it will reach March 2025 priority date. It will take, to reach March 2025 priority date, it will take 2 years approximately. Because I divided evenly, it will be very similar. It looks very similar for, EB3 other workers, rest of the world. And same, it says that Philippines EB3 other workers takes 3 years, but it will follow along the rest of the world as it did today in the current fiscal year. For Mexico, we're thinking about close to 5 years of time it takes to reach March 2025, but it might also follow close to rest of the world category. And also it has its own spillover numbers that will come from EB1 Mexico and EB2 Mexico, so it will support this number. Same thing, this EB1 rest of the world will support these guys, no doubt about that. So I'm going to analyze deeply on how those numbers, if any, I can give you the best case scenario and worst case scenario, but in the next video, not now. This is big picture view, so let's stay there. But I will show you how this number is going to play positively on these number of years that we are talking about. EB3 other workers India, I know there's not a lot of backlog for EB3 other workers India, so it's going to be dependent on those numbers would be used for more for EB3 in this case. Skilled, EB3 skilled, I mean. And EB3 other workers China, the prediction is it will take up to 1 year to reach March 2025 priority date. So this is my high level big picture prediction of how long it's going to take to reach up to March 2025 priority date. The reason I keep saying as March 2025 priority date is because this data is based on March 2025 visa bulletin final action date chart. So the backlog counts are generated after those dates. And these numbers could be lower now because we are at July 2025, right? So current fiscal year might have already used some of these numbers. So I'm not considering that benefit at this time. Let's stay worst case at this time. Okay. Hope this is clear. I may have run through faster here. I may have talked about so many different numbers, so many different combinations. I do not know if I did it did make it clear for you guys what I did here. But if you have questions on this topic, on this content, please don't hesitate to put it in the comments. Okay, I will be definitely reaching out to you guys to answer those, whatever the questions you might have on this topic. But as I always say, please share with your network. Please spread the word about my channel. I would definitely appreciate that. And thanks for your time taking a look at this. Yeah, have a good one.